Welcome back. On today's video, we're talking about the cost of takeout versus investing. I saw a reel that seemed to be a little bit of hyperbole, and let me show you what I saw. This was on Instagram, and it talked about the real cost of takeout if you were to start in 1993. You can see this starts in February of 1993 and then running through present day, assuming that you have a $18 takeout meal versus a $6 home cooked meal. Now, if you're cooking from scratch, that seems realistic. $18 is not that far off for two people. And in today's world, actually just one person eating takeout. Of course, these costs change over the years, but this gives us a good estimation for what you can do. So let's go back to this and let's watch the graph. You can see when it starts in 2000 or 1993, it's not much. But as it starts to get through the years, it starts to go a lot more. Now, of course, that dips down. There's a couple of periods of time where you'll see it actually dip significantly. But you've got to keep in mind that the takeout is not a savings. So this is showing the relative cost, but this takeout number should actually be going negative if we were actually comparing this apples to apples. So regardless of what the investment does, you'll come out ahead. But look at this amount. You're starting to sit at around $800,000 is the number that this is using. Now, investment models will differ, but it's important to understand that any savings is a net savings. And what's really kind of interesting is when you start to get around the $100,000 mark is where it really starts to take off because of compound interest at that point in time. So to verify this, I put together a spreadsheet. And I wanted to see what this actually looked like. Now, I did it a little bit differently than what you saw there, but I wanted to get in with the average S&P 500 return over the course of a year, and that'll be this target here. You'll see there are years where it's negative. In fact, if you look at the 2008 time frame, it actually goes negative by 37%. So pretty significant. And then at the end of each year, we're going to add on, or the beginning of the next year, we're going to add on the interest so that we're not over calculating. Now, your returns probably would be a little bit better because if you're investing this monthly, you're going to get the benefits of compound interest on a monthly basis as opposed to just at the end of the year. But for this purpose, this is good enough. And you'll see that the first year, you're going to save $3,120. That's still pretty significant considering that most people can't afford a $1,000 difference or a $1,000 emergency. By the time you are 10 years in, if you go down here to cell number G11, you've got $54,000. Now you'll notice that's actually off by almost $3,000, almost $4,000 from the year before because the S&P 500 was negative for 3 years in a row. That was the dot-com crisis. And then it starts to go positive again. By the time you get up here to 2008, you've got $101,000. But then the next year it drops to $67,000. So there are pitfalls to investing. But keep in mind, by that time frame, you are still spending more money if you're just eating out every night. And this is only 5 days a week. And by the time we get to the end of 2025, you have almost $700,000 in investments. So this is a pretty significant chart, even though you've got some volatility in there. Now, again, like I mentioned earlier, the investment models will differ. So I had Manus AI create this website. Now, this was pretty cool. I mentioned in one of my other videos, if you check it out, the comparison between, I believe it was Gemini and Manus. And I realized right away, Manus is an entirely different animal. So Manus actually created this spreadsheet that allows you to take a look at this, see what the difference is between eating out and home cooking, and you can actually come in here and modify this as well. So say that you're eating out 3 days a week, and the average cost is $20 versus your home cooked meal of $6. Based on the Manus numbers, this will show you an estimate of, wow, you can actually save $384,000 in that model. Now, I did notice the Manus model is a lot more conservative, and I haven't been able to go into the math to figure out why. But it's still a very intriguing thing to be able to do, to be able to come in and say, well, in Manus's model, if you're doing $18 per meal eating out versus $6 at home, it's only a $549,000 saving versus $700,000 in the other model. But that's still a significant chunk of change by just making one small change to your lifestyle. Now, that doesn't mean you can't eat out, doesn't mean you can't have other things, but these are the type of visualizations that will help us understand how we build wealth versus just having a good time and not understanding where our money's going. So I hope this has been helpful to you, or at least entertaining to you. If it has, please give us a like down below. If you'd like to see more content like this, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you know someone this may benefit, please do share. Thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next one.